Apparently, I'm a big fan of starting videos from my bed. Good hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of the bone season. Well, unofficially. As you guys can tell from my last few videos, I have really been enjoying reading in bed, especially in the evenings, but I don't like filming the intros to my videos prior to then. It's happening. I said that I wanted to finally read the Bone Season trilogy series. I don't know what I want to call it just yet. So I've already read The Pale Dreamer, which is the prequel book, novella, if you will. It's 0.5. It's actually in the back of this edition of the Bone Season, which is why I had those annotations before. Like, see right here? Small detail that I forgot about my now physical book. But I started the Bone Season. As you can see, I've got a bunch of annotations already going in. I am 100 pages in, 108 pages into this book, and it is just so great to be back in this world. If you don't know what the Bone Season is about, the best way that I can describe it is we have our main character, Paige Mahoney, who is this protege slash rarity in this world. She is a dream walker, which means she is one of the rarest clairvoyant She is a dream walker, which means she is one of the rarest clairvoyant individuals in this world. At the start of the book, she gets recruited, well, technically, in The Pale Dreamer, you learn that she gets recruited by the Seven Seals, and at the start of this one, she is already fully fledged and is the number 2 in command. Meanwhile, she is hiding these abilities from her family, but particularly her father, who is pretty high in the echelons of society. Clairvoyant individuals are considered criminals, and so she kind of has to live a double life. Long story short, our girl Paige doesn't exactly thrive under the radar. She gets caught, and that is where the book absolutely takes off. Full disclosure, this will be full of spoilers. And honestly, the Bone Season has been out since 2013. This is my second time reading the physical copy. I actually read the physical copy from my library like 4 years ago around this time, like this exact time. So I am just so excited to be back in this world, to be annotating my physical copy, and to just look back at my old annotations and see what I've talked about since then. If you are new to my channel, I have a reading journal where I essentially logged all of my annotations for my library books really early on in my bookish journey. And so now I get to reflect on those annotations and some of the details that I wrote down, which, funny enough, like, I remember those details, but seeing how important they were for me the first time around is really fun. I loved this book the first time, so I'm really excited to continue rereading and, quite frankly, move on to the mime order right after this. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoy me reading the Bone Season and actually finishing the series up until what's released now. It is almost 11 o'clock and I have read almost 200 pages tonight. These back tabs are for the Pale Dreamer prequel, like I said earlier, and I've just made it to chapter 21, which is page 291 out of like 430 something. So this is definitely getting finished tomorrow. I will have actual thoughts tomorrow morning when I'm not going to bed, but I am flying through this. I love this world. I love this story. I think it's really unique in how it explores the politics and the fantasy realm in comparison to other fantasy novels that we all know and love. So that is it for tonight. Got a good chunk of the way through and have just a little bit more. For now, good night, and I will see you in the morning. If it feels like I basically never leave my house unless I'm going to the gym, that's because it's true. I've spent all morning and all afternoon working. It is almost 5 p.m. so I'm just about off work. Like, I'm done working for the day. And my brain is just fried. I was going to sit down and read some of Bone Season, but I thought first I would give you guys an update on all of my thoughts and my love for this book. Annotating this has been such a fun experience because I am reliving some of my favorite chapters and some of my favorite lines while relearning almost. Some of the other ones that I guess my brain didn't necessarily pick up on is so vital and so important to certain characters. And I think that's the really special part about rereads, is you are able to kind of like stop and slow down a little bit and be reminded of details you may have forgotten, or vice versa, details you might be remembering because it's been so freaking long. Chapter 13, you can see I have a note up here. It says, Nick, Jax, and Paige's chapter is my favorite so far. This is on page 180 of the paperback edition, and it's almost like the chapter that would have inspired The Pale Dreamer as a novella, and I love it. I love what it does. I think it's really, really clever how they meet and how this chapter comes back later down the line. It's really special. I think Nick and Paige have such a special relationship, and it's one full of so much love that's platonic slash like familial. It's like a brother and sister that once they found each other, they can't let go. Jax, on the other hand, is starting to sound a little bit more like this lady that we don't really like. This lady, her name is Nishira. Nishira, she's up to something. She wants the whole world in the palm of her hand, but unfortunately, she can't have it because that's not how it works. And I really don't like her. Nobody should like her. But the fact that Jax kind of sounds like Nishira sometimes is a detail that I forgot, because it means that Paige is going to have some issues coming up, because Paige has pledged her loyalty to Jax. So we'll see. I definitely think I'm going to finish the bone season tonight, so I'm going to go to the gym or work out at home. I don't know. It depends on what my programming is for the day. If I can do it at home, I'm going to do it at home. I'm going to work out, and then I'm going to like wrap up some work things and kind of prep for tomorrow, and then I'm going to read, and it's going to be wonderful. And guess where we are? Back in bed. Because this is how I live my life now. I made some really good spaghetti squash, like pasta situation for dinner. I scrolled on TikTok for like half an hour. So now I'm actually gonna start reading. I'm so tired. Today was so mentally draining, but I'm gonna read. We're gonna have a good time. I love this story. I'm just tired. I'm so tired. Normally, I'm not a complete maniac and stop in the middle of a chapter, but I kind of just have to. I am on page 378 now, which is halfway through chapter 25. Seeing the way Paige and Borden are learning to trust each other is really interesting, but also my heart is breaking. I emotionally think I need like a little bit of a break, because the amount of things that sweet Paige has been through, it's too much. And the fact that she can bear that burden for herself, it's breaking my heart to the point where like I think I need to stop for a bit. I do have an early morning tomorrow, so that is where we're stopping on Goodreads. Page 378 brings me to 78%. So I have 12% after this, which is this bit here. I've read so much and I've annotated so much, and it feels like this is only the beginning. So I am just feeling very energized in my fantasy slash, I don't know what you want to call this. Is this technically just a fantasy? Sci-fi? Fantasy sci-fi? Fantasy? Sure. I don't know. I love this and I can't wait to keep reading. But for now, I will say good night and I will see you in the morning. So I realized that I never really talk about work in the mornings, or just kind of like what my daily routine looks like, if you will. And essentially it's I wake up sometimes at 6:30 for a meeting at 7:30, and other times I get to wake up at like 8:30 for my first meeting at 9:30. We have a bunch of international clients as well, and I'm on all of those teams. Actually, I have my first meeting here in about a minute. But I thought I would just show you a little bit of life at my desk. Here we go. Alright friends, I've done it. I have officially finished the Bone season, which is book 1 in this saga. I love this book the second time around. I feel like I got to know our characters front and back so much more since I've read it already, and since I've read and now reread both The Pale Dreamer and The Bone season. The character arcs are so good, and this is only the beginning. While I do think there is a plot, these characters do it for the plot. They will take these chances that seem so outlandish and so crazy and make it happen. And I love it. I love it. I love Paige loving herself. I love Warden believing in her. I love the trust that they end up having. There is a little bit of Stockholm syndrome sprinkled in this book. We're just not gonna talk about that because that's not the point. The point is, I freaking love this book. 5 out of 5 stars. I originally gave it a 4.5/5 out of 5 stars, but this is most definitely a 5-star read. And I'm so excited to read the Mime Order next, so here's to getting it started. I feel like I'm gonna have actual check-ins for the Mime Order because it is completely new to me, and I'm so excited. I feel like I've had some time away from the Bone season. It's been a couple days, and I've been listening to a few audiobooks, but I think it's time for me to jump back into the Mime Order, and I am very here for it. I think I'm also gonna take notes in my reading journal just so that I keep track of all of the main events, and if I have any questions or anything that I want to go back to, which is what I did for my annotations for the Bone season. It was super helpful in terms of kind of keeping track of everything. And yeah, I am just excited to dive into this and see what good old Paige is going to be up to next with the 7 Seals. So here we go. And already there's a part 1, a part 2, and part 3. Like, this is going to be insane.
Hello friends, apologies for sounding sick because I am indeed sick. I have a little bit of a cold after traveling for work, and so I'm just kind of resting up. I've been, guess what, in bed reading. I wanted to share a quick update. I just got finished with part 1 and I am on part 2, and this is the Rephite Revelation. There's an interlude. There's an interlude as an ode to London. It's really just kind of setting the scene, and it ends with, and the homeless are still homeless and the corpses still dance, puppets on a hangman string. But the reason I want to kind of update is because the Mime Order has a little bit of a mixed media element to it. So we have this bad boy. This is kind of like a poster slash communication slash piece of essentially artwork in our book, but in their world it's an announcement for a scrimmage for the dominance of the central cohort. So part 1 ends with quite the death, if you will. And something really interesting is going to be the change in dynamics in the London cohort. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how everything shifts. So I am 155 pages in now, 156 pages in. The part 2 section is about yay big. So it's the middle section of the book. That ends on page 335, so it's about another 150 pages or so. I would like to get through half of part 2 today. Does that feel ambitious? No, because what am I doing today? Literally nothing. It's Sunday and I'm not feeling well. So that's the plan. And once I get to a good stopping point, I'm also gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna get a quick workout in. But yeah, so far, the Mime Order has been really interesting considering it follows the consequences of the end of the Bone season. I am, however, really missing the dynamic between Paige and Warden. At the end of the Bone season, they split ways, and we haven't seen any sort of communication between either one of them. The most that we've seen is Paige reaching out into the aether and trying to connect with him, and being unable to because his spirit's just like not there. It's not reachable for her. So my hope is that in the Rephite Revelation, we get to see the Rephites in some way, shape, form, which means we hopefully get to see Paige and Warden reunite. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm going to try and not feel terrible. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm glad to be kind of sitting down and getting some more time with it, so let's keep reading.
I have an issue. I want to rearrange my room. I have friends who encouraged this decision. So we're gonna rearrange my room a little bit. So my desk is in this corner of my room. Has been since I moved back. It's fine. It's fine where it is. I stare at a wall when I'm working. It could be better. It could be better. This little nightstand situation, you know, it's not bad where it is. It's not. But it doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than just like holding things for me. So it's really not committed to its space. And my bed, best position for it. I have the most space for activity. But I feel like creating more space between my bed and my wall so that I can maybe add a new bookshelf eventually against the wall and have it kind of facing really cute. So we're gonna move things around. Now this should be pretty easy because part of my bed is sitting on a rug. Fingers crossed I don't scrape my floors more than I already have. Okay, things are happening. Oh, it just like moved off the, oh, I have so much shit under my bed. Okay, this is fine. We're fine. This is fine. I don't know what I'm doing. This is fine. Now I'm faced with an issue. Do I shift my desk this way so that there's a little bit more leg room? But then where am I supposed to plug everything in? Because there's a plug right behind my bed where it is now, like right here. That means I would have to pull all of this forward and it would have to sit forward a little. And like I can't put my bed facing like this because the windowsill and there's gonna be a weird gap there. And I have to have my TV or my bed over here because my TV is right behind me. I gotta think, I gotta debate. I tried it, I hated it. I hated it. It simply was not good. So we've changed things. This is what the current layout looks like. You guys remember my bed used to go this way. It is now this way and centered, sort of, with the window. I have a nightstand here. I have my little book cart here. Everything else is generally the same. We've just kind of shifted gears a little bit. And again, mind you, the bed needs to be an optimal viewing zone of the TV because that's just how I like to operate. So if like the bed was here and going out, we're still in optimal viewing zone. But if it's too far over, then it gets strange because the TV only tilts so much. To be determined, my friends, to be determined. Right now, this is what we got. I am ready to go to the gym. So we're gonna have a good workout and then we're gonna come back and see if this is going to be the final layout or not. Here I am under the same lamp that we all love. This lighting is so harsh. So I was supposed to train twice today. I trained once around 2 o'clock and I was planning on training once around like 6 o'clock right before the sun went down. And then I got really into the mime order and I am now on page 268, which brings us just over halfway through. Oh my god, when I say that having Paige and Warden reunited, having them as almost like vigilantes against the rest of the world, and seeing all of the different ways that Paige is trying to crack the story, if you will. We have so many liars in this story, including Ivy, who I think Paige thought that she would be able to trust a little bit more, but granted, they were only two people that just happened to escape together. They don't really know each other. They don't know each other's life stories, and I think that's tough for her to realize because they're strangers in that regard. But Paige has so much status in this world, and as somebody who got her out of captivation, that it's almost like Paige expects more out of her, but she shouldn't, and she knows that. And I have been annotating quite heavily and having a lot of fun with it again, and there are moments that I am marking with pink, which for this book have not been happening very often. However, the 2 parts that I did mark in pink are moments that were just like so sweet and there was so much care and thought into it. I don't know, I love it. I'm eating this up. If I wasn't feeling as bad as I was feeling right now, like fighting off this stupid little flu cold situation, I don't even know what it is so annoying because it's just bothersome enough where it's like I'm blowing my nose and I'm coughing every now and then, and it's just got me like a little bit sluggish, and I know if I just like I'm gonna sleep it off tonight and like be fine, but it's just strange and annoying, and that has nothing to do with the mime order. But I was gonna say, if I wasn't feeling so gross, I would probably read about another 50 or so pages, which would have brought me to the end-ish of part 2. Yeah, part 3 starts on page 336. So like I said at the very beginning, the book is split into 3 parts. We are currently in the Rephite Revelation, which is also the name of the, what are they calling it? It's not the pamphlet, but it's Pennytale, I think is what it's called.
Penny Dreadful. It's called A Penny Dreadful.
it was like a pauper's tale, a dime a dozen. And essentially they're doing what Jackson did with the On the Merits of Unnaturalness, and he created this revolution within, blah blah blah. They're mimicking it, however, as a warning. Things are getting intense. I also wish this book was just not as thick as it was right now, because like I really want to get to the meat of this story, and I feel like some of it is taking too long to get to. I understand why. Like those little scenes in between are the small glimpses of Paige putting the story together and like the readers finding out more, but it's dragging a little bit for me. I'm content with putting it down for tonight. I will say I am feeling extremely suspicious of Jackson. Jackson Hall is the Mime Lord. He is the White Binder. And quite frankly, I think he's plotting against Paige. Simply put, I feel like he is doing something to just put her in a really bad position, and it's making me nervous because he's already exhibited signs of blackmailing her and like threatening her to stay and her future and blah blah blah. But to actually see, like, I don't know yet. I'm keeping my guard up because I have a feeling that Jackson Hall is going to screw over Paige somehow, and he's gonna be like the biggest betrayal yet. Even though Paige is actively betraying him, even though she pledged her loyalty to him in the last book, like, fuck that. Fuck that. This man is out to kill her, I'm convinced. So that is it for today. Happy to check in tomorrow morning, but I'm sticking with my bed being here. My friends are great at providing more suggestions and more ways to rearrange my room. I do have a tertiary option in the works, if you will, if a bookshelf is to make its way into my room sometime in the next, I don't know, 6 months. So we'll see. We'll see. For now, this is the layout. I'm happy with the layout, and with that being said, good night.
Hello, friends. I hope you can excuse my current appearance. I am not feeling so great, and I have a constellation of pimples on my face. It's a whole vibe right now. But we have finally entered the best time of year, and I say this as someone who gets her heart broken during this season of year. It's baseball season. I'm watching the Angels versus Dodgers game. Go Dodgers, even though I know they're gonna break my heart again. Like, come on, what kind of pitch was that? So, whoa, we're still very zoomed in. So now that I've got the game on, I'm going to play the game in the background and get some more progress in the mime order. I really, really, really want to finish this book, solely for the fact that it is March 27th today. And I feel like I've been reading this book for like 2 weeks. Mostly because I haven't had time, but also because I keep putting it off because it's huge. I feel like I'm not making any progress, even though I am. And I know, I said this going into it, where I knew that if I was going to read both the Bone Season and the Mime Order, I was going to go way over page count than what I feel like I normally would have with smaller books. So like, I'm reading double the amount of pages for one book. So mentally, I feel like I need to compartmentalize that because it feels like I'm not making as much reading progress because I'm still only reading one book. It's just one really long book. So that's where I'm sitting at. I'm also losing my voice. I'm really trying hard not to lose my voice, but I have lots of meetings where I have to talk, and vlogging doesn't exactly help. So I'm going to preserve my voice as much as possible as it comes in and out right now, and I'm going to get to reading and watching some baseball. So welcome to the best season of the year. Okay, this game, this Daughters and Angels game, is getting extremely tense. However, we need to talk about what's happening in this book right now. So on page 275, I marked a blue tab, one of these blue tabs, which indicates story or lore in my annotations. We have been going at it for like 7 pages, 8 pages, 10, almost going 10 pages long, okay? But it's taking me forever to read this because it's so dense in this world, and like Paige and Warden are talking about the Riffite past and everything that's happened and why it's so important for Paige to be the one to do this now. And just their banter. I have to read this. She literally said, "So what the hell is it that you want, Arturus Mesarthim?" His name is so hard to pronounce. Right? She's so blunt and is like, what is it you want out of me?
because clearly you're not communicating very well and I'd like to get around this. She goes, but I'm the only choice. And he responds, you are not the only choice. But if I could choose anyone on earth, it would still be you, Paige Mahoney. Are you joking? You're trying to tell me that I'm not supposed to believe that there is a romance between this big scary man and the revolutionary Paige. I'm supposed to believe that? Oh my, the tension that is being built here is so good. But there's also so much, oh my god, this game. Oh my god, this game. The Angels are up 10-5. Make it 12-5 now. So I'm stressed about this game. I'm stressed about this book. Just chaos. Editing this vlog is going to be a nightmare. As the young kids say, I was given crumbs and I ate them up. I am the biggest Paige and Warden stan. I love the angst. I love the forbidden romance. And what Samantha Shannon is doing right now. It is not that I don't want you. Only that I might want you too much and for too long. Okay. So I have made it to part 3, which is called the Monarch Days. Which is funny because the section of On Merits of Unnaturalness from Jackson Hall says, we must fight fire with fire if we are to survive this inquisition. And then it's an ode to the underworld. And then, oh my god. I'm just so excited to see what happens with the scrimmage, with what happens with the Paige versus Jackson versus Refite storyline. Like, this is going to be fucking insane. So good night for now. I'm gonna see how much more of this I can read because we're getting down to the wire. I've got, I believe, less than 100 pages. 509. Okay, not less than, a little over 100 and something pages left. 170 or so. So I'm gonna get to grinding a little bit more, but I'm gonna say goodnight because this is getting so good.
Alright guys, let's go ahead and wrap up this video. I've finished the Mime Order, which is book 2 in the Bone Season series, and let me tell you, it was an experience. I think initial thoughts is this book is just too damn long. The first half really kind of dragged a little bit. I know the purpose that it served. I know what this first half was supposed to do for us, but it just felt like things were taking too long to happen. You know, there's a certain level of balance that comes with progressing the plot while still getting to know your characters, and I feel like, you know, it wasn't done as well as I would have hoped. However, looking at this song Rising and how short it is in comparison, like, this is a big discrepancy. This book is 347 pages, whereas this was like 508. So 350 versus 500, that's a big difference. So I'm curious as to how the song Rising will play just into the overarching story. But let's talk about the Mime Order, because I loved the last quarter of this book, and quite simply, I could not put it down. You'll see this back half has a lot more pink in it, and that's because those are all of the wonderful moments between Paige and Warden, who are just such a beautiful and unlikely duo. To recap everything from the first book would be tough, but essentially our sweet clairvoyant Paige gets taken to this other realm where human clairvoyants are lesser than. They are the working cog machine of this greater being called the Rephaim that, quite frankly, they just think they're better than everybody else. They've got more power than everybody else. They are historically stronger. There's a lot about them in this world that the world doesn't know about. Paige becomes this savior amongst them. She becomes really well known, and quite frankly, she is probably the most powerful human clairvoyant in this world at the time. In the Bone Season, Warden, who is Paige's master, technically speaking, has a very compassionate side to him, and you get to learn why down the line. In the Mime Order very specifically, we see their relationship bloom in a way that matters so much more than romance. They have what's called a golden cord, and this cord is really this almost ethereal bind that brings them together. And what's great about it is we get to see them really connected
in a new way. As for what goes down in the mime order, Paige really sets herself as the leader that she is and as the bad bitch that she is. She does not take shit from anybody. This was evidently true in the Bone season and even more true in the mime order. She continues to really fascinate people with how much resilience she has, myself included. Paige also gets her loyalties tested. She goes through and finds out all of these secrets of the world, starts to piece together, you know, who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and she really gets a sense of that greater story that I was talking about with the refs. There is so much world building in this that at times it does get a little bit complicated. I got into the habit of tabbing anything in green as moments where I had questions and moments where those questions were later answered. And that was really helpful because it does get really dense between not only the history of the ref I am, but really the big villain behind all of this. They're all little puppets, and trying to find who the puppeteer is got really hard. And you know, as a reader, you try to solve things on your own, but there are just times where it's like, right when you think you got it, something else gets thrown in the mix. Granted, I have never been good, and I will own this. I have never been good at guessing like who the villain is or what the big plot twist is or whatever. Like, I am terrible at guessing that. There are so many people I know that are so good at guessing whatever is going to happen, but I'm just terrible. So I liked the big reveal. I liked how intense it got, and like NPR said, this book was quite intoxicating. As for my overall reading experience, because it was such a big book, I definitely found myself like struggling to want to pick it up because it felt so intimidating at times. I knew that if I just read like 50 pages here, 50 pages there, it would go down, but I really ended up reading the bulk of this in the last couple of days, where before I went to bed, I decided I was gonna read 100 pages, and that was it. That was my goal, 100 pages, and I did it. The last 100 pages of this book throw you for a fucking whirlwind. And quite frankly, the plot twist, well, okay, the plot twist at the very end, like literally the last page, I knew was coming. I knew was coming. And I can't say what it was because that would then spoil the song Rising for anybody who's watching this and cares, and you know, but it's a good plot twist and one that I was extremely suspicious of. I predicted something right. So all in all, I am really happy with this experience, with this massive vlog that is going to take forever to edit, I feel. But I am so happy to finally be getting through this series, and I can't wait to finally get to this song Rising. I probably won't be touching this anytime soon just because I'm feeling very satisfied yet overwhelmed by the mime order. So I'm gonna step away from the Bone season. I'm gonna go read some novellas, some romance novels, you know, something light and fluffy. And then we are going to dive in head first, and I'm so pumped. And for reference, my notes on the mime order started here on March 13th, and I have 1, 2, 3 and 3/4 of notes just because it was so freaking good. I love this. It took me 15 days to read this book. Realistically, it probably would have taken like a week if I had just sat and like committed to reading it, but you know what? Life happens, work happens, things happen. With this long-winded clip finally being over, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed reading the mime order in the Bone season with me. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until then, I'll catch you in the next one.